He was not a lover, not in the poetic sense, at least. Niccolo Machiavelli, the Italian political philosopher who wrote The Prince, was not concerned with fairy tales or happily ever afters. He was concerned with power, survival, and the manipulation of appearances. That not everyone plays fair, that sincerity can be punished, that appearances matter more than truth, and that power, not love, is what shapes behavior. For the woman caught in a toxic relationship with a charismatic but controlling man, these insights are not just political, they're deeply personal. Here are 10 brutally honest lessons that every woman must understand when dealing with men of power, charm, or manipulation. Not to become like them, but to protect herself from being consumed by them. While Machiavelli spoke this as advice to rulers, it reveals a hidden dynamic in many toxic relationships. Many women stay in toxic relationships because they believe promises will change, it'll get better, this is just a phase, but Machiavelli reminds us, some people only keep their word when it serves them. A manipulative man may make endless promises without intention to keep them. In other words, power players learn duality. A manipulative man can be both gentle and cruel, affectionate and cold, generous and withholding depending on what gets him what he wants. This duality confuses women. You cling to the tender moments, hoping they mean something permanent. But Machiavelli would say, don't be fooled by duality. Replace war with control, and you'll understand some men. And it is necessary, if you wish to master her, to conquer her by force, archaic, definitely, misogynistic, perhaps. But Machiavelli saw how society treats women, as something to be won, not honored. And therein lies the final truth, women must stop being conquered in love. Stop hoping to be chosen by men who don't deserve them. Stop excusing behavior that drains their spirit. The lesson is not to become Machiavellian, but to stop being naive in the face of it. You are not a reward, you are a force. For them, relationships are not about connection, they're about conquest. They enjoy the chase, the seduction, the dominance. But once they feel they've won you, they lose interest or become abusive. It's not waiting for someone to finally see your worth. Love, when real, feels like peace, not confusion. It nurtures you, not punishes you. And if Machiavelli could whisper in your ear today, he wouldn't tell you to give up on love, he'd tell you to see it clearly. If he thrives in the chase, but withers in the routine of love, you were not chosen, you were targeted, and the game ends when you walk away. In seeing that the real prince is the man who makes you feel free, not the one who demands your silence for the sake of his ego. Consistency is the true measure of character. Anyone can act loving in moments, but only the secure act lovingly always. You only need to understand the game, so you never again mistake manipulation for romance, or fear for passion. Not because he's evil, but because his needs come first. Stop listening to promises, start watching patterns. Behavior is the only contract that matters. Translate this into relationships, and it's simple. A man who genuinely cares about your well-being will make you feel safe. Not confused, not anxious, not small. If you constantly feel like you're walking on eggshells, Machiavelli would advise, you're not with a partner. You're with a manipulator who has lost control of your perception and now plays games to keep it. Genuine love builds calm, not chaos. Some men don't want to be loved, they want to be obeyed. They crave admiration more than connection. Revisited in emotional terms, some men provoke fear to maintain dominance, silent treatments, threats of leaving. Passive-aggressive criticisms, these are not signs of strength. They are tactics of manipulation. If he uses fear to gain compliance, he is not strong, he is insecure. And if you feel fear more than love, it's time to protect yourself. Emotional intelligence means recognizing when love is being replaced by psychological warfare. A dark view of humanity, but one born of observation. He didn't mean anything is justified. He meant, outcomes reveal priorities, so, what are his outcomes? Does he leave you feeling anxious more than secure? Does he demand forgiveness without accountability? If his means constantly involve lies, blame shifting, or emotional withdrawal, then his ends are not about love. They're about keeping control. Emotional intelligence means seeing beyond the excuses to the impact. Machiavelli didn't hate people, he just refused to romanticize them. In love, women often give too much credit, assume the best, and rationalize the worst. But when a man repeatedly lies, disrespects, or gaslights, the problem is not confusion, it's clarity. Some people are exactly who they show you they are. If his behavior feels cruel, inconsistent, or manipulative, believe it. The problem is not your perception, it's his pattern. And they'll provoke fear, jealousy, or anxiety to keep control. If he punishes your independence or withdraws affection when you assert yourself, ask, is this love or control? If he's more focused on power than partnership, it's not a relationship, it's a hierarchy. And yet, for women navigating complex emotional relationships, especially with dominant, powerful, or manipulative men, his cold calculations and pragmatic rules might offer something unexpectedly valuable: clarity. Too often, women are taught to lead with their hearts, to believe in the redemptive power of love, to believe that patience, kindness, and devotion will melt even the coldest soul. But what if the man across the table isn't looking for a heart? What if he's looking for control, leverage, or admiration? He's smart, successful, maybe even a leader. He tells her she's special, he admires her strength, her independence. But slowly, things begin to change. His admiration turns into criticism, her independence becomes a threat. Her vulnerability becomes his leverage, and still, she loves him. Still, she believes she can fix it. And what if love, without wisdom, becomes a trap? In the shadows of politics and power, Machiavelli saw what most people refuse to see. Machiavelli meant that appearances often matter more than actions. In relationships, this is terrifyingly true. A manipulative man may say all the right things, perform romantic gestures, and play the perfect partner in public, but what does he do when no one is watching? Love is not what he performs, it's what he chooses repeatedly, especially when there's nothing to gain. Watch what he does, not what he says, and never let charm blind you to patterns of behavior. Imagine a woman confident, loving, loyal falling in love with a man who commands a room. Here is where Machiavelli's cold wisdom cuts through the fog. Not to teach manipulation, but to teach survival. Lesson 1. Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. Lesson 2. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Lesson 3. A wise prince ought not to keep faith when doing so would be against his interest. Harsh, yes, true. Often. Lesson 4. Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous. Lesson 5. The ends justify the means. This is perhaps Machiavelli's most infamous line, and most misunderstood. Lesson 6. A prince must learn to act like a beast and a man. Lesson 7. He who becomes a prince through the favor of the people must always keep them friendly. Lesson 8. It is much safer to be feared than loved. Lesson 9. A prince should have no other object, no other thought, nor take anything else as his art, but war. Lesson 10. Fortune is a woman. So where does this leave love? Love is beautiful, but love without intelligence is dangerous. Love is not submission, it's not tolerance of cruelty. Because the real power isn't in controlling others. It's in knowing yourself, in trusting your intuition, in recognizing the mask before it becomes a cage. Let them play their games, let them wear their masks. You don't need to become Machiavellian. Because at the end of the day, your emotional intelligence is not just your shield, it's your sword. And with it, you can walk away not bitter, but wiser. Not weaker, but clearer. Not conquered, but finally free.